Hey guys, it's Kato Ken here, back here again. Sorry that it took 7 months for me to upload again, but kind of fell out of love with fighting games for a minute. But I'm back into it, but ironically, came at a weird time. So all I want to do is, I'm here to bash on modern fighting games again, talk about why they're trash. But I've just been giving it a lot of thought, and essentially, I just realized it came down to lack of two-player interactions, lacking two-player interactions, and lacking viable counterplay and viable, meaningful two-player interactions. So what I'm trying to say is, fighting games have always been about two-player interactions. It's about interacting with your opponent. And of course, there are situations and plenty of examples when you can show, oh, there was an interaction or this or that. I'll get into that later. The core of a fighting game is supposed to be about interacting with your opponent. Uh, I make some decisions, you make some decisions, whoever made the best decisions come out on top, right? That's fighting games. Or at least that's what they're supposed to be. But now I want to talk about why modern fighting games are so crappy because of how that has philosophy has been strayed from intentionally. So the difference between modern fighting games and older fighting games is essentially this philosophy. Older fighting games had a lot of jank in them and stupid one-player interactions, but they weren't intentional. It was just you know we didn't they didn't developers really didn't know what they were doing all that well. But the intention was always to have a two-player game. Modern fighting games that flip that idea. They're trying to have a one-player game and clothe it and disguise it as a fighting game, it's a two-player game. They got rid of their intention. They're better at making fighting games, but they're intentionally making them not fighting games. Funnily enough, so why is this happening? From a developer standpoint, it's because of money. They want to spread out their brand, want to spread out their franchise. They want to make as much money as possible. At the end of the day, it's a business, guys. Fighting games are a business, and it's a niche business, and they want to expand. Obviously, that's what any business should do. Shareholders don't give a damn about your strategy and footsies. They care about money. So things like reducing the skill gap, reducing the execution, auto combos, shortcuts, heat, all that stuff is to make it to where, Johnny Mashbutton's 549 can keep up with or be on a higher level than he should be. And obviously, as fighting game players, that bothers us because the whole point of it is you practice, you get good, and now you earn the right to do these cool things and all that. Now, what's the problem with modern fighting games is they give you system mechanics or characters or both, where the offensive options they're so powerful, whether they work or not, that they negate the two-player interactions because there's no defensive options that are viable enough to get you back on offense. For example, throw loops in Street Fighter 6, you have options to deal with them. You have air quotes counterplay, but the counterplay is so weighted in the other player's favor, it's not really real. The only way those counterplay option works is under the three pretenses. You just see the future and you know what they're gonna do, so you pick the right option. Or you just don't get in that situation so you don't have to deal with it, which isn't realistic because you will have to deal with it sooner or later. Or you take a guess and then you're either right or you're wrong. But if you're right or you're wrong, like 3 or 4 out of these options that you have to air quote deal with the throw loop, tech the throw, shimmy, or jump or backdash. If you get meatied or you get shimmy, that situation is gonna get looped. You're gonna take 40 or 50% bare minimum, and then the situation is gonna loop, and then you're probably in guess for game, and you're gonna get guess between another throw or shimmy, which okay, sure, you have air quotes options, but they're all heavily weighted in the opponent's favor. Why is the opponent like so safe doing offense? Offense is supposed to have gaps in it, viable gaps that you could actually do something against, so you can get back on offense. Well, not even on offense, just get them off them so you get back to neutral. I'm not saying you can't have powerful offensive options and powerful defensive options. They need to be weighted. They need to make sense within the context of a game. The most broken thing in a fighting game is when you turn a fighting game into a one-player game. And the most broken thing in a fighting game that should be allowed, but should still, be weighted and considered is something. I'll give you an example. For example, you have the pro competition that happened today or yesterday for Mortal Kombat 1. qualifiers or whatever. You had Ninja Killer and then you had Sonic Fox. Ninja Killer's team is Conan and Shujinko. Sonic Fox had Cyrax and Serena, and they're the epitome of what I'm talking about. Cyrax Serena is a one-player fighting game character team. They hit you, they loop you, they start mixing you, and then they drain your meter, and you can't break or do anything. So you're forced to take on this Street Fighter 6 situation where you're just you're just always in a bad situation. You're never winning. You're always coping. You're never being able to build up. Well, on the other hand, Conan Shujinko, Conan's just a character that has good damage and good neutral. But when he hits you, he hits like a freaking truck. So he's like Karin Kazuki. He just hit confirms you, and now you're in the corner, and now you better not get hit again, because if you do, you're gonna die. But he's interacting with you. It's just really like heavily advantaged in his favor if you get hit. But at the end of the day, it's not something like, well, you're literally not gonna get out of this, and you don't have any options to deal with it. Sure, you'll explode if you get hit by him, but like if you get hit, you can still interact. There's still an if to it. If you start getting looped by Serena and Cyrax and they're draining your meter will be drained. It's not a question of if it's gonna happen. You just have to deal with their bullshit. You have to deal with it. And that's the most broken things in fighting games, where you have to deal with things and there's no possible way to really like get around it. When all roads lead to the same thing. When all roads lead to Drive Rush. When all roads lead to Happy Chaos doing something stupid and neutral or whatever. When all roads lead to Cyrax and Serena draining your meter. Because fighting games should not just be like an all-or-one like type thing. There has to be counterplay. Now, can there be strong situations where you should lose and checkmate? Yes, but that shouldn't be the whole design philosophy of a game or of a character. You should only play stupid characters like Happy Chaos or whatever if you're a pro player trying to make money. Because you're trying to make money, you're trying to be consistent. Skill is not always consistent, so you're going to need something to carry you, literally, to win. And there's nothing wrong with that at like the top level, because I mean everybody has access to that character, so but it's just up to you. But those characters are inherently not skillful. Like execution be damned, low health be damned. If you're competent enough, you can overcome those. Those aren't even real weaknesses. Oh, my character has low damage, I'm playing Akuma. Oh no, my character has low health, I'm playing Akuma. But he's privileged and has every other option in the game. Like, whatever, bro. Cope. I don't know. Don't get hit by Ryu, bro. But anyways, so yeah, and that's why fighting games are the way they are. Developers trying to make money, trying to make fighting games into something they're not, and then fans not getting heard or listened to, or having terrible ideas that get listened to. I mean, fighting games just there's a lack of two-player interactions, true two-player interactions, a lack of consideration with why things should be the way they should be, and why they should have certain amounts of reward or why they shouldn't within the context of the game. That is the biggest problem with fighting games. There's a lack of consideration on both players' sides, and a lack of consideration between developer and consumer player base. And until that gap is filled, where that consideration is understood between both parties, whether you be playing against another person or whether the developer and the player base, there's always going to be conflict with modern fighting games, because they're not even fighting games. They're just party games with the skin of a fighting game. But anyways, that's all I really had to say. So I'm gonna link some videos of some funny things. LK talking about how why nobody plays Leo, because they just want to play a one-player game with like Happy Chaos and some other interesting things. But thank you guys for listening to me. Listen to my rambling. Stay safe. Be a good person. Jesus Christ is the way. That's all I gotta say.